You're listening to Real Restaurant Radio, the show that inspires up-and-coming restaurant and bar owners, along with current operators, to pursue their passion in the restaurant business. I am your host, Kostas, and I'm joined, as always, with my good friend, Carrie Hodson. Let us guide you through the process of being a successful owner and teach you how to make an impact in today's culinary world. You're not in the frame yet. You could. There you are. little Carrie action going on there. If you guys are listening, you also can watch on my YouTube channel, Kostas. We do a recording of these podcasts, so you can see our beautiful faces.
It forwards to the website too, right?
Say it again?
The video is forward to the website.
The video is forwarded to the website. Yes, the video is forwarded to the website as well. That was like some security breach notification.
Someone's
We're good.
trying to listen in advance.
We're good. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which one of you guys are trying to listen to the podcast?
It's like, I know they have more episodes coming out. Jonesing for some Real Restaurant Radio.
Well, cheers, man. Cheers, bro. Another successful week.
I think this is the same cup I used last time.
That's the, I got that cup actually whenever we met at the Garland, Taste of Firewheel.
They didn't give me anything.
They didn't give you a cup?
No. They gave me a trophy.
Okay. I didn't win anything.
I earned that trophy. No, I'm just
I think that's coming up like next week. I'm not going this year.
We only did it once.
I did it 3 or 4 times. I did it 4 times.
Mm-hmm. There's another Taste of Garland that's like 35 years old.
I've done that one 4 times.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've never done that one.
I thought you were the beer vendor for it.
Mm-mm.
They moved it to like downtown Garland at the atrium or something like that.
Oh, it was there. No, I was
You didn't
not.
do that? I thought they had talked to you about being the beer vendor.
No, they wanted me to bring food.
Okay, weird.
Which is closer. I don't know. Is that a good one?
Yeah, none of them are good.
Yeah.
You know, when you're starting your restaurant, like for me,
when nobody knows about you.
I attacked it from every angle, but then you start to realize like,
oh, hey,
like,
intrinsic. Hey,
there's no point that you're giving away stuff. Like, I don't know. Like, I would get like one person out of that whole thing. For me, I would rather like go street walking and just like talk to people one-on-one. Be like, hey, bro, like here's a free meal at my restaurant. You should come check me out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I think we get stuck in trying to do what we're familiar with, which is cooking and serving food and talking to customers, right? But
going to those things are easy. Like, that's easy for you because they're telling you what to do. Hey, come bring food and promote your restaurant.
But cold calling a, I don't know, pharmaceutical rep company and saying, hey, do you have any customers that you want to drop lunch off to? Here's some really easy, packages, and you can provide something different and unique that they'll actually remember.
That requires energy and effort on our part. So, I mean, those things are
possible.
Yeah. I actually have a few pharmaceutical reps on speed dial. So
okay.
They press 1.
Thanks for sharing.
They'll copy and paste their what they want.
Oh, maybe
they text me.
Maybe we should form a
little
group,
restaurant group,
kind of like share customers.
2 or 3 restaurants. They would do like a Mexican restaurant and a barbecue restaurant, Greek restaurant.
Like, pay to enter. No. So many restaurants actually are like old school. You don't need to go over there. You got everything you need here, But
on that note, I actually am cooking Mexican food for a wedding.
Cool. Right on.
So I'm like, you don't need to go to that Ponchos and Lefties. Like, I got you, bro.
That's a different spirit. I mean, like, they don't share information, or they're super possessive of their customers. If I'm walking down the street and I see some of my customers in another restaurant, I just go in and say hi to the owner and ask what they got. And I don't know.
It's so funny you said that
or
because
take some food to go. Like I eat there too.
No, I sent one of my employees over there, one of my head servers over there to drop off a CO2 tank.
Uh-huh.
And she said,
she's great, by the way.
Oh yeah, Terry's awesome.
Yeah.
But she said, hey, Kostas, they were some of our customers inside of Intrinsic. I was like, yeah, we have the same customers. They eat barbecue one day and Greek food the other day.
It's funny.
But she was like, again, she's an older lady. So she was kind of like almost territorial about it.
Uh-huh.
I was like, no, that's what's supposed to happen. Like, we were supposed to eat at different restaurants. So yeah, I think that's so funny you brought that up.
And I know we're still not on topic, but you've seen that new Garland foodie group that started a couple months ago, maybe?
Yeah, they blew me up, man. They attacked.
Well, I think that's kind of like the natural evolution.
One guy attacked, and everybody defended me, but one guy attacked.
I think it's just the group trying to figure out what it's gonna be.
Sure.
You know, but it's at like 2,000 or something members.
Me
or
and you
something
post
like
on it pretty
1,700.
often.
Yeah, I do. I like to contribute. I mean, I eat at a bunch of Garland restaurants,
I
or
think
area restaurants.
3 or 4 episodes ago, you were talking about the Blue Rat, and I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty good.
I've eaten there a dozen times, maybe.
And do they have rat on the
think-
menu? Did we ever figure that out?
They don't. ever.
No.
The mother, so it's a mother, father in the kitchen, and then the son is running the front.
Okay.
And the mother was, I think, born in the year of the rat, and it's a cultural thing.
Of course, yeah. Thai
And
restaurant.
I find myself defending them a lot. Like, you eat at Chuck E. Cheese, or there's other,
Sure. That's true.
other restaurants like that.
Well, I haven't tried it out yet, but I'm going to.
They don't have beef, and they don't eat beef.
Hmm.
So they came by last night for pork and
They do pork and
to
chicken.
eat. They came to try our place out.
Oh, I
finally,
gotcha.
So,
Cool.
yeah.
Very nice. Very nice.
yeah, pork, chicken, tofu, all that kind of stuff.
My wife's a big tofu lover, so
Yeah.
she like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna try everything on the menu.
So it's already, what is it? October, end of October, and November, December.
We usually do a beer dinner around this time, right?
We got to plan one, bro.
Man,
We got to plan one.
Halloween's coming
Well,
up.
remember last year we did the Real Restaurant Radio podcast release.
Launch party. Yeah.
Launch party, beer dinner, collaboration,
right.
chef extraordinaire dinner. Like, it was amazing.
We could do it again.
Packed up, we could.
Or like a
We could do a 1-year anniversary of Real Restaurant Radio podcast release, dinner party, chef collaboration dinner.
we get some color printed like or glassware. I think people would
That would be pretty sick. Yeah.
like that.
We got to get the posters of Real Restaurant Radio actually like in our restaurants, because we need to drive more traffic. Not that like our diehard VIP like fans that have been listening to us for the past year don't matter, but it's cool just to bring more people on and make a bigger impact.
Sure, that's the point, right?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And a guy actually messaged me from Arizona. He's like, "Bro, like I listen to all your stuff all the time."
That's what's cool about the interweb.
Isn't that so amazing?
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking at the stats on Lipson, who's hosting our podcast, and it's like people from Romania are listening to us. So
Okay. Maybe we should either ramp up or kill our social media pages and just focus on the website.
I think, you know what? I think we should kill the Facebook page and keep the Facebook group. Because I think it'd be cool to have like a place where we can have like
Where we can
dialogue
post stuff too. Yeah.
and
no,
like
you're right.
other restaurant owners can go in there and it can be a closed group. So like if you want to air out your dirty laundry and ask other restaurant owners like, hey, how do you deal with this situation?
Yeah. I just don't think those platforms, we're not focusing on them.
We haven't. I'm sorry. Like we're running restaurants, and yeah, it's been a lot of work for us. But I think we can add some value to that. It's like, hey, I slapped one of my employees. Like, how do you deal with that when you leave bruises on their faces? Never have I ever.
How do you deal with that? Man, I hope that's not a real question. That's tough.
You know what I did?
I bet it happens.
Yeah, of course it is. There's some
We talking in
hot-headed-
the
there's some
butt or in the
hot-headed-
face?
There's some hot-headed restaurant owners. You
Right.
know.
I mean, I'm no Gordon Ramsay, but I get upset every once in a while.
You know, I got upset. I had a customer walk out. Probably one of the worst things that I've done, and it's like definitely illegal and definitely like got me in trouble. This was about 4 years ago. I charged my servers a walkout fee.
Well, is that illegal?
It's illegal. Yeah, you cannot charge your employees. You can fire them or hire them, but you cannot charge them for doing anything wrong. You can't like.
But if it's their tab, like if their drawer is short,
So basically, no. So what happened was a
like if a bartender's drawer is short, who's
They-
responsible for that money?
no. You have the ability to fire them or hire them. You cannot charge them. I believe. Like I asked. Well, I got the Texas Workforce Mission call on me, so I had to find out by doing research after the phone call. So if
That's the safest way to handle it, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
So you cannot
But
like
you have to fire people for cause. Too.
exactly. So you can like, hey, you stole from me, you're fired. I mean, you can sue them, I guess, for money lost, but you can't like force them to pay you back. Like just tell me. But anyway, so let me tell you the story real quick. Story time with Kostas Lazanis. we had a table that came in, and everybody thought it was everybody else's table. We didn't use we have like this policy where you put a napkin down or a coaster down to say, hey, we greeted the table, because we do like this rotation when we're not busy.
Whoever's there,
we're rotating.
greets the table.
Greets the table, yeah.
Right.
And you communicate with the other servers. Well, I guess all the servers are kind of in the back hanging out in the server area, and everybody thought that everybody else had the table. So the customer walked in, sat down, and walked out. And I was super furious because
they
that's
never
like
ordered
one of the most
anything.
furious things. Say it again.
They never ordered anything.
They never got greeted by a. So
Okay.
there was a.
That's a little different than.
So I charged a no greet fee of $10.
Oh.
And I told everybody, I was like, there's gonna be there will be a no greet fee of $10 every time a customer walks out. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, that's like the almost the most worst thing you can ever do.
Don't mess with someone's money. Yeah.
And so I did that, and then
mad.
one guy got pretty upset, and he quit. And the next thing you know, I got a phone call, Texas
Right.
Workforce Commission.
Right.
I was like,
I mean, you're trying to just say like you're hurting me in my pocketbook. Like, I want you to kind of realize the same thing.
exactly.
But,
I mean, the thought was there. The execution was not well planned, but the idea behind it was exactly what you just said.
Right.
Don't do that though.
So I guess that's one way to raise funding. Trying to segue into the topic.
Is that what we're talking about? Funding. Yeah.
Funding.
Yes, funding.
We've talked a little bit about it in other episodes, but we're actually rolling through the steps to opening a restaurant, right? And
Okay.
So
Let's talk deep about it. I think we've talked about it in years prior, how you got the money, the good crowdfunding,
right.
and then I just raised a little bit of money just working,
Right.
and my dad gave me a little bit of money.
All right, episode over. Well, we talked about last time the business plan,
Yes.
and you can look at, typically people do 3 to 5 years of your costs, right? I think.
Elaborate.
You should be able to operate at a loss for 3 years, is what they say.
How much of a loss?
All your expenses.
So you're saying you have to have enough money?
To keep it open for 3 years.
That's
what
not,
they say.
That's not real advice.
I think that's BS.
Yeah, that's
because
not real
there's
advice.
No way. Like, if you have that,
You can't. You
I
can't
mean,
survive for a month.
there is a way, but that's a lot of money to raise, and you can be over capitalized. You can have too many investors. You can have
Yeah.
too much sitting there. Like, if you're not using your money.
Exactly. It could be used somewhere else.
Right. So I don't know. When you opened up, did you have a year's worth of reserve cash, or how much?
No, dude. Like I had an extra dude. No, I had like $20,000 in my account when I opened up.
Okay.
So I had enough for next week.
For like a month of food orders,
Yeah.
like trucks,
Dude, that's
like your supplies.
Come on now, it's real restaurant radio. Like, this is that's the reality. You're not gonna have.
I had probably 6 months of expenses.
Was it your money though?
I mean, essentially,
You borrowed it, right?
Some of it. I mean, it depends on what pot you want to talk about.
If I wanted to borrow money, I could have borrowed more money if I had to.
I think you should have.
What?
Look, you put all this time and energy and money into building it.
Sure.
And if you can't make it a month without, what if like the fire marshal says, "Oh no, you can't open for another month." You know what I mean?
I would have borrowed
and you
money,
still have all
which
those.
would have been a hassle. You're right. I could have borrowed money
Last minute?
last minute. I
Who
could have
wants?
borrowed money.
Nobody lends money to people who need it.
I didn't think about all that stuff when I was 24 years old, man. I'm
It's okay.
sorry, bro. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
Hey, I mean, maybe there's a 24-year-old out there who needs to hear it.
Yeah, man. Okay, you're right. Okay, you're right. But that's what I had. I had $20,000, and what's so good about opening up though, Carrie? Is
I paid for the money I borrowed. Like, there is a risk or a cost associated with borrowing money, right? The interest.
Again, it just goes back to
But at least I had that cash if I needed it. And
yeah, you're so like when it comes to this type of stuff, you're so methodical and precise, and I'm just this
it'll be fine.
happy-go-lucky. Yeah,
fine.
exactly. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. Exactly. But
If I just if I'm frugal, I'll be okay, right? No, it's not just about being frugal, and you got to be smart in your purchases.
yeah, that's something that I had down to a science. Like, I wanted to get the bare bone cost going to Restaurant Depot in my little minivan, loading that thing up to the brim, low riding it back to the restaurant.
Sure.
So
But,
I did
like,
everything on my own.
refrigeration, I bought used refrigerators and had to replace them all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you have product loss, and it's a headache, and there's just certain things you should spend the money on, certain things you should be frugal with.
I agree 100%.
Right.
So funding, yeah. I didn't have much money, but what's cool, like when it comes to opening a restaurant, and I can't speak at this for every restaurant that's ever opened up in the world, but like you do get that honeymoon period, like that first month. So you do get like a lot of that money back to kind of help offset some of the unforeseen costs. And I know like me doing like $25,000 a week for the first like 6 weeks.
And you're like,
really,
oh, and it's going to double.
Oh, dude, like I went to, I remember like after week 4, this is like me not sleeping for like a month straight. Cause you know how it was that first month, you don't sleep. I mean, you're literally every day, all day. I remember going to like Nordstrom Rack and like buying a pair of like $150 pair of jeans or something like that. I'm like, dude, like I made it. Like I'm going to be rich. And then like week 6 to week 12 is like, it would just go down 20%. I'm like, oh my goodness, stop going down.
That's funny.
Yeah, so that's.
I mean, I was a little older, you know. I was 30, so maybe that's.
But you bought something though for yourself, right? After you almost killed yourself after the first 30 days, and you not buy yourself like a nice dinner with your wife or something to that effect, like, hey, like we did this.
No, I mean, we opened December, and then a month later it was New Year's, and then.
At what point did you? When did you like take your first day off to celebrate? Like, hey, I opened the restaurant. Like, we made this happen. Do you remember like vividly? I mean, I remember very vividly like my first like day off with my wife after we opened up. With my cell phone in my hand, texting the restaurant every 5 minutes.
Probably our anniversary in July, maybe 6 months later.
So it was like 6 months of just like
I think I don't know.
Like balls to the wall, grinding every day. Like you don't.
I took a half day last Monday. I don't know, man.
It's beautiful, man.
I don't know. I like working, so
I never work a day in my life.
yeah, exactly. I must have done something to celebrate at some point. I don't know.
I think I took my wife. I remember very vividly with my wife. I took her to what's that one mall north? It's had the Cheesecake Factory. Stonebriar Mall.
I just always want I always want to improve and tackle the next problem. So I guess
Your hand just went in my frame. There it is.
Not bad.
No, you're good.
That's weird if you're not weird to hear if you're not watching.
Yeah, that's weird. Sorry. Get your hand out of my frame, Carrie. Jeez. Huh. Anyway, I think it's moral of the story is
I just didn't spend any money.
Yeah.
I was just trying to pay back our loans and
so I guess
make sure we didn't fail. And
yeah.
I was personally tied to it all. I mean, that's a lot of the money came from our personal savings.
Yeah, I get it.
Which we worked hard for. So
yeah, you know my story. You're saving $50 at a time as a server. So
exactly.
It's crazy.
Yep.
Well, funding.
Want to talk about sources?
Yeah.
Funding?
Let's talk about sources.
You said you had little help from your dad. You and your wife saved a bunch of money. And that was pretty much it, right?
That was it. Kind of like my college career. Like I never took out loans, student loans.
Did you have a set amount? Like
I had like $50,000 saved, $55,000 saved.
And like you needed
my
X amount to open?
I had an idea, and then also...
Was it in your P&L?
Also, I worked out a really great deal with the landlord, whereas like, hey...
Graduating.
Yeah, I was like, hey, give me... Because that's the whole thing is negotiating your lease is a really big thing, especially when you're opening up. Mm-hmm. It's like, give me 3 months for free, and then... Or give me 4 months for free, and then I will do all of the cleanup and rebuilding of the space. And I took over a second generation restaurant.
So while we're building, don't charge me.
Yeah, while we're building, don't charge me, and then give me like 3 months of rent for free after I'm operating. Yeah,
that's great.
So I got 3 months for free of rent, and then I said, hey, take it easy on me. Like let's do like, $1,000 for the first 3 months, $2,000 for the next 3 months, $3,000 for the following 3 months, and kind of help me out. Don't give me any finish out money because I'll paint the walls myself and I'll clean it myself because normally
Ours was not a restaurant. Our building. So
Yeah, you had a whole different like startup game than me because I already had a grease trap. I already had a Vento hood. All I had to do was slap some paint on the walls and buy some tables and chairs. That's what I thought anyway. I mean, it turned into this whole other thing.
Sure.
But essentially, even now looking back, that's all I really had to do was just slap some paint on it.
You just walked in and it was good to go.
In a nutshell, yes. It was a lot more complex than that, but in a nutshell,
we tore down all the walls, redid all the electrical, all the plumbing.
Yours is crazy. You just want to start talking. Just start talking about the funding that it required for you, because you're the guy that needed the funding.
Well,
it was more than $50,000.
It's a good point that having a landlord that gets it is incredibly valuable, because he paid for everything that's, if I left, would stay with the building. Lighting, grease trap. No, maybe I paid for the grease trap. But plumbing, all the electrical.
So pro tip.
The walls, the bathrooms.
Landlord negotiation is a pro tip there, right?
Flooring. Yeah, break
it down for us. Break it down for us. Like, so the funding that it required. Tell us your story, because your story is a lot more complex and a lot more detailed than me having my money and borrowing some money from my dad.
We did, like you did, personal savings. Lived on my wife's salary for a while. I think it took about 5 years to raise $60,000, and then we did a crowdfund campaign, which was pretty difficult, but we raised $30,000 there. And I don't know if you can do that for a brewery these days. It might be harder because there were less breweries back then.
I agree.
People were more excited about it. But it was a great marketing tool, and people still remember it and wear the original shirts. And then we went for some outside investment, which that's where the business plan came in super handy. We didn't get a whole lot. We raised...
Talk about that in detail, outside investors.
Well, if you take your business plan and your profit and loss, and then you make it incredibly more detailed, and you start having operating agreements, and I guess it's a private placement memorandum, which is like, you give me this money, you get this, these are your rights, this is how we're going to communicate. Were these people considered venture capitalists, or they get ownership, or is it just interest? Ownership.
So they do have a percentage of ownership. Is there a way to pay that back, or they always own it?
You can buy them out. So it depends on how you set it up.
More than one way to skin a cat, huh?
Right. And since restaurants are kind of a high risk investment, especially if you're a what do you call it, silent investor, I had it set up in a way that they would get an additional 7% of their investment every year until they've, like, an accelerated payment on their, it was like a priority stock basically, and they would make their money back faster. So the risk is a little lower. But then after they've made their initial investment back, which they all have already, then they just get a percentage of profits at the end of the year.
And that's ongoing forever?
Yep.
Because they helped you fund the place?
Yep. So Molly and I actually only own 97%.
But that's cool, though, because it's
Which is a good percentage. I'm okay with that. Like, I'm super thankful for their help in the beginning.
And it's so hard, like...
And they haven't been in pain.
It's sad to give that money away. I mean, it's sad to give that ownership away, but then you have to always remember that you wouldn't have ever opened without that money.
And I mean, and we valued the company well. It was $10,000 per percentage.
Yeah.
So it's not like I don't feel like I'm working for someone else. You know, I'm putting all this energy in, like, they own half of the business because they gave me
$30,000.
Right. And
gotcha.
I think they're happy and I'm happy. And
$30,000 is a lot of money. Like, it's hard to come up with $30,000 bucks real quick.
Sure. But it does kind of make it feel bad to have money in the bank when you could have just owned it. You know what I mean? So, like, those 6 months of operating costs that I had in the bank, I did have, opening a brewery is kind of expensive. I did also get an SBA loan So that's when the bank really wanted to see how much everything costs. And that ended up being a equipment loan. And so I had to, every time I made a purchase, I had to send them how much it was going to cost and what it was. And then they would release a little bit of the money.
Gotcha.
And then a little bit more of the money.
Just for the
A
equipment.
little bit more. Yeah. Yeah. And so.
But when you're talking equipment, you're talking like tanks and stuff, right? Or are you talking like
it was
microwaves?
It was $175,000 loan.
How much of that did you use?
Well, it depends on which bucket you're taking it from. I mean, I
The equipment
essentially
loan.
used it all, and then all of the funding that I raised ourselves we didn't use.
Okay.
So that was our operating costs.
I gotcha.
So I used all of the equipment loan for equipment.
So you
not to
you
use
bought $175,000 worth of equipment.
easy.
No,
Yeah.
that was
I'd have to
the
look
brewing
again,
stuff, right?
but yeah. So
yeah, that's like all over my head. Like I'm
Seven-barrel
thinking like
brewhouse,
microwaves
fermenters.
and refrigerators and
it included that too, though.
a grill and a fryer.
Walk-in coolers,
It all adds up.
all of it. Mm-hmm.
So, if you could take it back, like, how would you have done it differently? Would you have not borrowed the money? Would you have not had the investors? Like, what was, out of all those different sources of funding, like, which source would you not have? I mean, obviously, I think the easy one is, like, probably the ownership, right?
I don't know. I do feel like I put a lot of time and energy, and maybe it slowed me down a little bit to try to find outside investors. And I met with a lot of people who eventually just said no or stopped or ghosted me. You know, it's like, okay. And now, now that we're open, I've had 15 different people try to give me like
Money.
$100,000 to open another, you know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
So it's kind of funny, but on the other hand, I'm kind of thankful that I didn't have a whole lot of investors.
Because you could have given up a lot more than 3%.
So I spent a lot more time
Yeah.
on that 3% than I could have, I guess.
Okay.
So
Do you think maybe you shouldn't have, like,
the SBA loan is great, low interest.
what's the interest on that, by the way? 3% or something?
No, it was higher back then, like 4.5%. I
Okay,
think.
that's still not bad. Not bad at all. Because, like, a business loan is, like, right now, like 5.5%,
Sure.
6%.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, wow, that's
The easiest one is your own savings. I guess for me, it depends on your mentality. Like I like to work for what I have, kind of thing. But I guess I don't like spending other people's money.
I'm the same way. Like,
So
dude, I took all my money, just like it was all on the table.
right, I don't
Everything
know
I
if that's
had.
smart, but
Well, I was 24 years old, so I think I could recover a lot better. Like a lot of people opening restaurants in their 40s, even me opening a restaurant right now. Like if I started from scratch, like if I had quit my job where I was making $70,000 a year, and I got my 3 little baby girls and my wife,
right,
it's hard to throw all that away.
that's true.
To
A lot of
open a
people
restaurant.
do open restaurants when they retire too, because they have that extra influx of cash, and time.
Yeah.
They're like, what am I going to do? I'll open a restaurant. So it's a different level of risk depending on where you are.
When you're 25 years old, you can just throw it all out.
I felt kind of the same way. Like I could take a higher risk because I was younger.
You didn't have no kids. You had no yeah, exactly.
Sure.
So, I think when you're older too, you can take risk too to an extent because it's like, what do you got to lose? You've already lived your life type thing.
Mhm.
And I got a buddy of mine open up a 50s diner. The guy's in his 70s or late 60s, and he's killing it, doing $25,000 a week,
Cool.
making so much money.
Great.
So,
Breakfast and lunch.
So yeah, breakfast and lunch, and he does little Texas-shaped waffles and fried eggs and all the things. And he's been a restaurateur his entire life, but he just split from a partnership to open up his own concept.
Mm-hmm.
And it just shows that in every stage of life, you can open up a restaurant. So in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, or even in your 70s,
Sure.
funding is important.
Am I missing any other sources?
Dude, no, I think
Bank robberies.
drug dealing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do, like,
Well, that's personal.
Turn your
funds, I
kitchen
guess.
into a meth lab.
There you go.
I'm just saying. I mean, I'm sure it's been done. I'm sure it's been done somewhere. Maybe in Colombia.
Oh, wasn't it Breaking Bad? Wasn't all the money laundered through like a chicken place?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
That's
I remember
right.
that. Yeah. The
That's
Pollo
right.
Loco. Is that what it was
Yep,
called?
yep. There you go.
Awesome, guys. Well, hey, I hope y'all enjoyed this fun episode. A little boring when it comes to talking about money, but I mean, obviously, the boring stuff is what really matters, and that's we can talk about recipes and and restaurant design, but at the end of the day, it's about having the money, and that's the difference between being a restaurant owner versus being a restaurant manager or wanting to open a restaurant. It's like, show me the money.
Yep.
And it's all about the money.
Yep.
And without that, you're just a talking head, and you can't be a player unless you got money.
Yep.
So
make it happen, Captain.
All right, bud. We'll see you guys in the next episode of Real Restaurant Radio. And if you're ever in the DFW area, like I always like to tell you, make sure you come by, try out some awesome Greek food or some intrinsically interesting beer or barbecue. And we will see you guys soon, all right?
Opa.
Cheers.